Even without an errata, this card isn't even close to being as broken as it used to be. What's going on, guys? This is Mias, and today we will be taking a look at card destruction and why the card used to be super competitive and now it's just no longer really up there. You know, people don't really respect it, people kind of sleep on it, and some people don't even know it exists because they're brand new to the game, and this card was printed in like starter deck Yu-Gi or something like that, like freaking 20 years ago. But before you start, friendly reminder to like and subscribe. Let's jump right into it. So unlike cards like Ring of Destruction and Future Fusion, card destruction never really changed its effect. It was always the exact same, meaning that if the card became worse, it's not because the effect is kind of not really the same, but basically because the impact that it has on the metagame is different, maybe because of power creep, the game is changing drastically. There are a lot of reasons and I tried my best to break them down, but before I actually want to talk about why the card got worse, I actually want to talk about why the card was good in the first place. So card destruction was not only a card that could refresh your entire hand, but also trigger a lot of graveyard effects. So if you played a deck like Dark World, it was kind of nasty. You would also, by the way, you would start your turn with 6 cards back in the day. So before Pendulum format, you could go discard 5 danger monsters, draw 5 cards, and then go effect. And as long as you're not playing in the mirror match, that was usually kind of game. It was really hard to lose when you would immediately start your turn with like a +4, which is kind of nasty. Right now, we don't really have a lot of spell cards that are just insta +4s without really any drawbacks. Every single time there are always drawbacks, or you have to play a card that is kind of archetype locked, but card destruction was good in several decks. Like card destruction was also insane in Dragon Ruler, which was, okay, not a tier 0 deck because Spellbook was also a thing, so it was kind of like sharing the tier 0.5 with Spellbook, like 2 broken deck and then the rest is like, Dragon Ruler was nasty because the Dragon Ruler monsters are kind of similar to Infernoids in a way because they're almost just as good in the graveyard as they are in the hand. So if you would go like card destruction, you would discard like 5 Dragon Rulers, draw like freaking 5 cards, and then you could go like super rejuvenation, draw an extra 5 cards on the end phase. Yeah, you get the card advantage really fast. In modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, I want to say the last time this card actually saw play was in Danger Dark World FTK, when people were trying to dig their deck for like Cannon Soldier, for the Firewall Loop, and if you obviously had the opportunity to draw into beginning of the end, your opponent would literally just kind of be dead. I mean, it's literally the beginning of the end. You know you're dead when a card that literally says draw 3, not once per turn, kind of has no drawback, successfully resolves 3 times in 1 turn. Obviously, being able to dig your deck for those power cards and get a lot of triggers with the danger monsters and the Dark World monsters in the process was really nice. So I mean, yeah, it just increased the consistency, it increased the power of your decks, and even in Danger Dark World FTK, which is kind of relatively recent, I think it was like 2018, the card was almost, I want to say almost, just as good as it used to be, but obviously there are a few negative aspects, and unfortunately I am done covering the positive aspects, so now I will be talking about why the card is much worse than it used to be. So in my videos, I kind of have a tendency to repeat myself, and for a good reason, I want to say. I usually say that when people want to deck build and include cards in their deck, they want their cards to be as reliable and as practical as possible. So when you have a card like card destruction, it's kind of weird because card destruction doesn't achieve the exact same results every single time you use the card. It's just you're placing all of your faith in the hands of just, I don't know, whatever, and if it doesn't work, well, kind of goodbye for you, because you could, what, help your opponent, make your hand worse, so many things, and I will be covering them a bit more in detail right now, actually. Like, yeah, if your opponent is playing a graveyard-oriented strategy, like Burning Abyss, for example, and use card destruction, making your opponent discard Seer, Graph, and Skarm, before your opponent even played a single one of his cards, upon starting his turn, he's going to have 2 monsters on the field because of the Seer and Graph, and an end phase search with Skarm. Just because of your own card, your opponent went +3. That's not really good, huh? You never really want to help your opponent when you play Yu-Gi-Oh! You want to make your opponent lose. So why play a card that could maybe hurt your opponent, maybe, or possibly help your opponent, especially since everybody and their mother right now, I keep saying that, but everybody needs the graveyard more than ever. Not to mention that the card is an inherent neg 1, so if you're discarding cards that don't really have value just so you can draw into cards that do potentially have value, well, you went from 5 cards to 4, so you lost 1 card in the process, and like I said, there's no guarantee. There's also no guarantee of you being even able to bait interruptions like an Ash or just actual negates on the field, unless your opponent has hand knowledge on you and knows, for example, that you have like a bunch of Dark World monsters in the hand. Then yeah, obviously he's going to be negating the card, because if you can discard like 3 or 4 actual good monsters and then draw into like power spell cards, for example, with a stacked graveyard, then we might actually see some issues for your opponent. But apart from that, the card is just like whatever, it can resolve, and sometimes your opponent doesn't even have hand traps in the opening hand, and then you go card destruction, discard the hand, and then all of a sudden my hand is better, you got to set up my graveyard, and I have hand traps, so the rest of your combo, like your FTK or anything, they will not work. I also want to add the fact that if you're going second, you either need like hand traps or board breaking cards, whatever, and you have card destruction, you need to use them against your opponent, these going second cards. So by the time you draw for turn, whatever, use your card destruction, maybe instead of having a 6 card hand, like a full hand, or a 5 card hand, or a 4 card hand, you might have like a 3 card hand, and then card destruction's impact becomes significantly worse. You might be discarding 2 just to draw 2. Your opponent might have just a fatter hand because he was able to gather a lot of advantage on turn 1, so he might discard 5 cards and then draw like 5 cards, and now he has even more hand traps to beat you what you're doing, and it kind of doesn't end well there. But yeah, I mean, there are so many reasons why the card can just not really be broken, I guess I want to say, because it's just RNG based. There's just no guarantee of you either making your hand better, or maybe you're making your opponent's hand better. I mean, who knows, really? Obviously, on paper, the card looks great because it can help you so much, but why play a card that could help you when you could play a card that you know for a fact might help you? So that's exactly why I keep saying that people, when they deck build, they always want to play a card that they know for a fact will achieve them something very, very specific and doesn't really generate advantage to the opponent. Like Danger Mothman is a great example of that. Danger Mothman is the kind of card that you kind of want to avoid playing when you're playing a few danger cards, because if it gets sniped, maybe the same thing will happen where your opponent had no hand traps and all of a sudden he discards like a Farfa and then draws into a hand trap like a Droll. He uses it right away and he also banishes a card on your field. I don't know if that's really ideal. But yeah, like, do I believe that the card could be good again? Absolutely. I mean, it was good in 2018 and it was overpowered back in the days in like whatever 2011, 2012, 2013. So why not make the card better again? And yeah, I don't know what you guys actually think of this card. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me a lot to keep making videos like these, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.